Hey everybody, Steve DeLaviaga, our Rise Up podcast. Am I the luckiest human ever? This is called the Pretty Podcast. So you had to be beautiful, talented, stunning, and I just get to host it, so it's not me, it's them. But these are two of the most influential partners I have. They have done an amazing job on social media. They've built the largest national network businesses we have at Rise Nation. So happy to have you. Cody Gibson and Miss Nikki Miller, how are you guys?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Absolutely great to have you. All right, so a couple things. Firstly, even though I always say this, Nikki will sound older than she is, and she's younger. Cody will look younger than he is, but he's older. So you're just going to get with that. But both of you guys with your social media has been amazing. It's been a big part of how you've built brand and culture within your world. So starting with you, because you're closer to our older age, did you just make a decision, hey, I'm going to lean into this thing and do it? How did that work with you as you've become who you've become?
I think it's a matter of people wanting to know who you are,
Right.
not just what you do. And we live in an era and a time where who you are on the inside shows up on the outside. And it's just like fruit. Fruit doesn't rot from the outside in, it rots from the inside out. Mm-hmm. And when you think about social media and your business, people want to know who you are.
And so you used it for that because you do it. You'll have personal posts. You'll have posts with your kids.
Sure.
I've seen a post with my girl, Miss Bree.
Yeah.
And then you'll have like, hey, going to speak to 500 people in that post
Sure.
too. So what, is there a mix there you're trying to accomplish? Or is it more just, this is my life, guys, this is who I am?
I wish there was, I wish I put more effort into it sometimes. And then when I think about that statement, I go, no, actually, I don't wish that, or else I would. I do the things I want to do. The reality is, it's a conscious stream of it's a stream of consciousness.
Right.
But so's our lives, because that's how my life looks. Like I hang out with my daughters, and then I go do this, and then we're speaking in the afternoon, or we do this, and then we wrap a family trip into a work trip. Like that's how we live. So why not live on social media the way that you live in real life? I don't believe in the fake part of today's business and tomorrow's not. No, you're all things all the time.
What I love about both of you is you're both so authentic. You can tell it's who you are. And I think in social, if you're taking something from these guys today, lean into who you are. And remember, there's the same number of people aren't going to like you that aren't going to like you anyway. Who gives a shit, right?
Coincidentally, his number's higher than mine.
Well, he is older than you.
I've had more time.
Exactly. More days on earth
As my dad pointed out, I've had more time.
Well, hey, if I had Cody's hair, boy, I would be, I'd be in the NBA right now. All right, Miss Nikki, I always tease you about this, but, beautiful, amazing Barbie. Look like Barbie, but sell like Rambo because you're so passionate about business. You've really leaned in, and you've done, I think, the feminine energy that comes out I love because it's your passionate, strong, feminine energy. I see it with you and your daughter. I see it with you in business. Something conscious you did, or how does that look?
I think that my social media space is my place to bring more of that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I leaned into it so much because in business, it's usually, and when you get to the upper echelon of real estate, it's mostly guys, right? Most of my counterparts in this space are men. And so I just found myself sort of naturally leaning into that energy because I think that's what I'm around all the time.
Right.
But when I'm home with my daughter or when I'm writing or when I'm in my creative space that I like to be in, that's the opposite energy, right? For me, that's the feminine energy. And what I put on my social media is just my expression of that. Like it's just the other side of who I am. And I like to show the whole person, not just part of the person, right? We're all whole human beings and have a whole world and a whole life outside of
100%.
Just real estate all the time.
I just love that about it. And I think that, again, your authenticity in both cases matter. Was it something, because as a woman, it's tough to put yourself out there. You get judgments, but it seems to just be water off your back. You move right into the next thing. And your success tells me your audience and the people around you get it too.
I mean, I think that's learned. I don't think that it's all, I wish I could tell, it would be inauthentic for me to say it's always been water off my back and it didn't matter.
Right.
But that's learned. I think, in business, you take enough punches that eventually you just learn how to get up and brush it off. And you also learn whose opinion matters because everybody has one. And when you're on social media and when you're on big stages, like Cody just said, there's going to be whole groups of people that don't like you. And I could focus on that. Like I could spend my energy around that and I would, probably go home crying every day and not have a business to speak of and lose all my energy. Or I could focus around the people who, when they have feedback that might be hard for me to hear, is people that I respect and feedback that I value and things that I want to take. And that's what I choose to focus on. It's not that I'm not focusing on anything that's, constructive. It's more that I focus on the people I respect, the people's whose opinions matter to me. And that's where I want to put my energy. Otherwise,
what I love about who you are is that when you say that, whose opinions actually matter the most, I know, because I know you, that it's yours. It's yours in the mirror. It's your daughter's. It's the big guy. Like, it's those opinions, starting and ending with your own. Are you happy with who you are? That's the greatest superpower of who you are.
Thank you for that.
And I think that both of you, and I've said this to you, you're leaning in now to it. You're like, oh no, I'm going to go right at it. And I think that creates another sense of authenticity and reality, which I love. Platform-wise, is it 5 platforms? Is it 3? Is it TikTok and Instagram? What do you focus on, and how do you parlay your micro and your macro content?
I was just coaching someone to go do more and more and more on TikTok.
Yeah.
I walked, and this is the greatest thing about coaching, right? Because when you're coaching others, you walk out of the room and you go, damn it, I was literally talking to myself. Because I walked out and went, all right, I got to go do this, right? Yeah. The good news is TikTok today is no longer just dancing videos, so I'm in. Like, it's now time. It's my entrance is prepared.
Nikki's the only one that has a good dance video on
geez,
TikTok.
man.
I'll just assure you of that.
Mine's mostly Instagram.
Yeah.
I have to go to TikTok. And I'm going to guess in a year, I'm going to wish I'd done it sooner.
Yep.
I'm going to guess that that's going to be how that goes. Facebook, I mean, really, it's just people your age. And so, like, I was talking to my son, and I'm like, something, and I go, Facebook, and he goes...
He's always been a smart ass. What am I going to do?
He goes, Facebook's for old people. And I'm like, no, I love it. And he goes, and I'm like, oh. But what's crazy, he's 21, doesn't have one.
Yeah.
No, a lot of that.
My daughter's 13, never asked for one. But man, she begged for Instagram and she begged for TikTok.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, it's crazy because Facebook has turned into a place to see what you did crazy 12 years ago and to say happy birthday to somebody.
And this is a great point both of you make, and you've said this to me before in our chats, that the future of real estate's now starting finally to move younger because they see that it's gotten harder now. People have made their money, they're getting out a little bit. Now this younger generation is finding a way, and this will be the platform for younger. How do you do your platforms? How does it sit with you?
So similarly to Cody, I had the same aha when I was coaching someone who runs a huge real estate YouTube channel, and she gets hundreds of leads a month from her YouTube. And I'm sitting there coaching her and saying to myself, why don't I have a YouTube? Like, why am I not doing this? Because it's such a great way for us to access our consumer. And our consumer has changed, right? Whereas we used to be prospecting for transactions. Now we prospect for the right talent to bring into our worlds, right? So from my perspective, I've always coached people, you need to be everywhere your consumer is. And so we need to be everywhere our consumer is. So I am everywhere. And as my team grows with the next generation of agents, I've leaned in heavily to video because that's also what I like doing.
Right.
Because I think it's really challenging to hold yourself to a posting schedule or whatever when you don't like doing that. Like I like to do my videos, and I like to share what thoughts I have on whether it's growth or real estate or whatever it is. And I just think it would be hard for me to do that on a platform that I didn't want to be on.
I keep hearing the same theme with you guys. Be authentic, be who you are, be where you're comfortable being, right? And this is important too, and I'll say this, like obviously two beautiful, attractive humans, but video works either way because when people go, oh, I don't like how I look, I go, that's how you look in person too. So
what you got.
Get over it and do video because the consumer and your partner's video is going to be what they gravitate to because it's easier to consume you that way. Let's go into the national network piece. And I love that we have had our journey for 10 years now.
It's been a while.
And when we started, like, you got so much heat. This isn't going to work.
Yeah.
This thin model. And I remember saying to friends of ours who also were rooting for you the way we did, was his quiet confidence to figure it out made me always know you'd be right. Now, I don't want to misstep. How many locations are you in?
Today, United Home Group's in 130 locations. That's 28 states in the U.S., and we're now in 7 countries.
Unbelievable. You'll do 1,900-ish transactions this year-ish?
We're on pace right now, 2,100, 2,150. We're up a little bit from last year, but we're also up in agent count. And so, and Nikki and I have talked about this, like, it's one thing, the business is up, but what hurts me is my people aren't up. Now, a few of them are. Like, there's always a few killers that find a way to succeed no matter what. They go, all right, I am ready. And then the other ones go, oh my God, what just happened? So I have to have 30% more agents to do 8% more business this year.
This is a John Shaplak thing, and it's so true. Our job as leaders is to bring the people.
Yes.
The people bring the money.
Yep.
You got to bring agents because you're right. As you're bringing, always be recruiting. Not everybody ever stays. Retention and churn is part of real estate. However, if you can always be recruiting people into it, it doesn't matter who leaves. It just matters that you're always bringing people. So now your vision, we were talking yesterday, congrats, financially killing it, winning at every market. What would be the 2 or 3 traits of one, that you had to have to do this, and 2, why were you so committed to having built this national network across 6 countries, 30 states, et cetera?
For me, it's been as crazy as it sounds. Like I remember speaking at a conference and they said, what's your goal by 2020? And I said, we're going to be in 40 cities by 2020. It was like 2014.
Yes, I remember this. I remember joking about it with you.
At the time, I was in like 5, right?
Yeah.
And so they say, like, if
And
you
2 of them around Portland. It was Portland and
We're going to
Clackamas
count them both. But we're
yeah,
counting
that's
them both.
right. Yeah,
It's officially 3 zip codes, Bucko.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're in, man. 3 zip codes, 14 cities.
Correct.
And so I remember thinking, if you share your goal and they don't laugh, it wasn't big enough. Man, I was laughing. I'm like 40. But at the same time, I learned 3 things from this. Number 1, that was as much thought as I put into it. I was going to turn 40 in 2020. And I thought 40 cities, 40
Sounds
years
good.
old. Oh my God. But we tend to look at people that succeed and we think they had some angelic moment that we didn't get. We think the heavens parted one Tuesday for them and we're still waiting for Tuesday to come. The truth was I had to put it on a brochure and I had a week to do it. And I put it off until it was time to print the damn brochure. And I'm like, well, 40, let's go.
Yeah.
The whole thing happened that fast.
But it sounded crazy when you said it. I remember being like, oh my God, that's something impossible.
2017,
Yeah, I
they
know.
invited to the same event. And they said, remember like the book Good to Great? And then they wrote the book years later, like Built to Last, like who's still around?
Yeah.
They invited the speakers back to the same conference and said, okay, let's update and tell us where you're at. And I remember getting ready for it and looking at it and going, holy crap, man, we're in 72 cities now. And my aha in that moment was, and I think about it a lot, when I think I'm thinking big, if I've never done it, I don't know what big means. I would have told you 40 was at the moon. And I said it to myself thinking, dude, if I get 35, that'll be, if I do 30, I was at 4.
be a god.
I was
Yeah.
at 4. Yeah. I'll be a real estate king.
But
And
isn't Gary great at that though?
the greatest at it.
I believe.
And
I think
it's
Gary
like,
Keller's got,
yep.
he teaches you what you think
Yeah.
isn't big enough.
But I didn't. And so today I look down and someone goes, how big do you want your world to be? And my answer would be as big as it could possibly go. I no longer think in terms of limits. Now, the challenge is I don't know what that number is.
Right.
If Keller Williams is in 800 locations in the US, and we are, then that would be my starting point. If KW went to 800 locations, then I could just go to 800 locations. Like I don't have a limit.
Right. It's been done. I think I can do it.
But when I think I'm thinking big, if I've never done it, I don't know what big means.
And see, I think I was there when he said that, and we were both laughing in the car to the airport. And we were back at the same event 3 years later. I said, holy shit, thought you doubled it? And you said to me, I'll never forget, you said, no, but it taught me I'm not thinking big enough. And that bothers me.
Don't even know how far I can go. Don't even know.
Exactly.
Yep. So to put any box around it is like putting a box around yourself.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I wonder how big it, I mean, Gary said it this way. He said, I wonder how big it could go.
Yes.
Let's go do that.
Yeah, and that's awesome. What about you? Like, look at you now. You're in 100 locations. I'm in 60 with you at Rise. Thank you. Did you ever think this? We were talking a year and a half ago. We first met, and you're just like, well, we're trying this. Yeah. And I was like, okay, you ready? You're like, well, what's ready mean? And now, in fairness, one of the most sought after national partners runs the lead syndicate and has a model built for agents who get to keep their brand, keep their name, and get to bolt on to what you have created, which is a whole business in a box for them, which doesn't get offered, as you know. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so we're in 123 locations now. We're in 24 states. I mean, I've got to say thank you to this guy right here.
You did it so fast. Like I feel like such a loser.
Well, you
Jesus,
figured it all
man.
out
No,
for me.
I'm like a decade in, and you're like, hey, it's been all week. What are you doing?
You figured it out for me. I mean, I would not, like, the saying that you get to stand on the shoulders of giants for me is so true. I get to stand on the shoulders of people who figured all of this out before me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for friends like Cody, like you, all the people who run these networks that I got to learn from, which has just been such a gift.
But Nick, you did learn from it. See, this is the difference. We've offered this kind of at-bat to people, Cody and I, multiple occasions. This one, to interview, and then she did, Cody, what people don't do after they take their notes. She goes back and executed.
Actually did the work.
Actually did it. And Nick, I'll never forget my first 2 interactions with you. you didn't call me back until it was an outcome to what we talked about and that you could prove it. And I think, listen, if you're out there listening, what makes her special is she doesn't just ask, she then executes. Would that be fair?
Yeah, and I love what Cody just said. I think that for me, I didn't have a big vision at all. Like when I started the Lead Syndicate, I started it in one location, and I was like, it'd be cool if we could just really do well in this one location. And then I met with Gary, and he said, this is a highly expandable model. And I was like, yeah, this is a highly expandable.
You're right,
Sure.
Gary.
Totally built it that way.
Sure. I was thinking myself about that. Well
exactly.
done.
Wow, what a concept. And then I started and realized how many agents needed it. I mean, I really just built what I wish that I had as a growing agent. That's all it was. Like I just wanted to give people what I wish that I had when I was growing. I'm sure your organization's the same.
Well said.
And so then I just started showing people what they could do with having this type of support. And you know the results speak for themselves, and it turns out there was a lot of me's out there who were just looking for another way to grow.
What I love is thank you for always being who you are and sharing. And you're right, you've hastened everyone's journey who's followed you, because you always laugh. You go, well, this is what does work. This will take about an hour. This is what didn't work. We'd have to be here for 2 weeks.
the rest of the day.
Let's get this. And I think too, again, that I met two of your folks, right? Tyson and Tatum, like two young killers. To watch that they were both in other entities before yours, I think was helpful, because they go, oh my gosh, I come over here, I've got 4 transactions, 3 transactions, 5 transactions in 4 months. I was the other place 1 in a year. What is is it just that the consistency of what they're going to do never changes and such that catches? What makes it? What's the sauce?
I think that my special skill, like if I had to name one, I think that it's that I just simplify everything. To me, if you cannot clearly articulate something in a simple way, you don't really know it. And I won't speak or teach or coach on anything that I don't really know. And so therefore, when I am guiding somebody, it's simple. Go do this. After you've done that, this is what happens next. This is what happens next. This is what happens next, right? And so in my organization, that's exactly what we do. You do this, we'll do everything else. This is the path to success. Just go do that.
And now you got some proof of concept out there, and it's loud and real.
Well, similarly to Cody, I mean, I think anytime a new idea comes about, I mean, you've been in the room when people are like, "This isn't going to work. This is crazy. Not a good idea." To the point that I've even second guessed myself, because people that I really respected were saying like, "This is a terrible idea."
People love, by the way, to say no. It's a thing. By the way, you know who has to be the loudest voice every time? Yours, right? I loved it, and we were honest, right? You'd be like, "What do you think?" And I go, "Oh, it's an easy teardown, but here's what you can't do." I get the model and I get the system, but I'm way more interested in the jockey than I am the model or the system. Because whatever you two are doing, I guarantee you it will work in the end, because you won't, if it's not working, you don't just take that path into the Titanic land.
No.
You shift, you move, you go.
There's 2 things around that, right? Nikki, you're good at this. The first is, I love in the dip, the beginning of the dip, Godin says, winners never quit, or do they? And he goes, no, winners quit stuff all the time. They stop all the time. You look at like a professional triathlete. If they're not going to win that day and it's halfway through, they stop. Because they're not there to finish and get the medal. I'm there to finish and get the medal. They're there to be on the podium.
Yeah.
And if today's not the day for the podium, they don't need the next 7 hours of beating up their body.
Correct.
And so they're stopping, not quitting. 2 real different things. What you embody really, really well is the idea that ideation is worshipped, but implementation is rewarded. So you don't just hear the idea and go, this is great. You actually go, this is great, and now I'm doing it today. And so you actually go and implement, which is what's actually paid for the most in our world.
I think both you guys have learned too. It's what you say no to that allows you to build the businesses you are building, right? And so let's talk about that. Like I know in your world, like you've got all this attraction. People come to you. And I love that you've gotten a little harsher about who you'll take.
Sure.
And a little bit harsher about what you'll tolerate, because before you're trying to keep the agent happy now you're like, so talk a little about that.
Well, in the beginning, I think everybody probably operates from fear of loss.
For sure.
And so you play not to lose versus playing to win. So when you're playing not to lose, that's like the idea, you mentioned it a minute ago. We've all had lead gen strategies that just didn't work. Knowing when to stop it is brilliant. Playing not to lose is like, I've dumped $2,000 into this, and if I don't sell the house, before you know it, you're $6,000 into it. Before you know it, you're $9,000, and you sell one, you're still upside down.
Yeah.
So knowing when to stop. And so for me around people, The higher we make our standards, the higher we have to perform. And the higher we perform, the less we have to protect our standards. Because
Ooh,
the
I like
world will
that.
protect them.
I love
And they'll
that.
go, I'm not, because we always get we're a mirror of what shows up. And so when the nose pickers show up, you go, oh my God, I'm showing up like a nose picker. Like this is how I am, because that's why they're attracted to me.
All right.
The moment you stop that, the world starts rewarding you with bigger thinkers, bigger doers.
Oh,
You're an
I love
example of
I
that.
love your crew now. I love Marissa. I love, and I think you've top graded Michael. I mean, all these guys
Oh my
are
gosh.
the best,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's a gift. You both have this ability to retain high level talent. Is it vision? Is it relationship? Is it pay? Is it a combo thereof? Walk me through, kind of start with you, how you've looked at, because you've really done a good job with your people. I think, as you know, people determine the result.
I think it's along those lines. I think that every organization will grow to the extent that you do, right? And I always say that every organization is built in the founder's image, every single one, without fail.
So
Well
true.
said.
Right? What you're good at will show up. What you're not good at will show up. And I think what I am very clear on is what I'm not good at. I know that nobody in my organization will outgrow me. I'm 100% sure of
Yeah,
that.
you are passionate about that.
Yeah, because I am so dedicated to their success, to our success, to making sure that I'm doing the right things. And I'll keep asking the question, and I'll keep being curious, and I'll keep figuring it out and doing it, and then figuring out a better way until the end, right? And yet I'm crystal clear on the things I don't like doing and the things that I know that I'm not good at. And
They
I
have
just-
to be done, right?
that have to be done. And I just build a moat around the business for those things. I go find the people who are naturally good at that. And I have really honest conversations about it with people too. Like, I'm not good at this, therefore this person is here for that. Go talk to them. Like, I know, because especially when you run organizations like ours, everybody wants to be connected to you as the owner of that organization, the founder of that organization. And sometimes I'll have honest conversations with people that, like, I'm just not the right person to talk to about this. I'm just not the best one. And so you have to be able to effectively have those conversations and also be able to clearly articulate where you need to be in your business and where you don't need to be.
That, I think, would be a challenge for both of you, because you're so magnetic, you're likable, you're dynamic, you're attractive. Yeah. But you've both had to create culture that gives that without it always being your time, right? So on your side, I know this. I've been in rooms with you and people chase us out. And we're getting in the car and people are like trying to get in. Hey, can I take you to the airport? We're like, absolutely not.
Absolutely
Get in the
not.
car.
I'd
So-
rather buy my own way to
Exactly. I'd rather take my bike and ride it.
Yeah.
So talk to me a little about how you've learned to kind of give people a little bit of Cody, even though you've got now hundreds of people in it.
yeah.
And how do you do
I
that?
think there's two things, and I'll piggyback on what Nikki said too. I think you grow up someday, and your comeuppance running a business is, I'm not going to keep them all,
Yes.
and I'm not supposed to.
No.
I think that when you're building, and we're always going to be, I think you're always hiring a little bit beyond where you are. Then you run as fast as you can to catch up to where those people are. It's either that or you're hiring talent below where you are, which we all know where that leads. So if we're going to out-hire or out-punt our coverage, if you want to use that analogy, you're going to lose some people. I look back at my career and I see people that are spotted along my career where I go, I'd have kept her today. Today, I'd have kept up with her. She's
Yes.
a killer, but I hired before I was ready, but it made me run faster. And so there's an old saying, don't judge me by who I hire, judge me by who I keep. And so you're going to lose some people. There's a stigma in our industry and in business in general, I think, that says if you're losing people, you're losing. I don't think it's true at all. I think that losing people is one of the greatest things that you can do. Every time someone leaves the organization, you have the opportunity to top grade or to upgrade from there. So I don't think turnover is necessarily bad. I think the right turnover, like what did the Disney exec said? He said, people go, why do you pour so much money into training them? What if you do that and they leave? And his philosophy was, well, what if you don't train them and they stay? Like, those are your choices.
Well, I think this is important too. Everybody you hire is leaving you. It's a matter of time. So my question is how they leave. I always say this, how you exit anything says so much more about you as a person than how you enter. We all enter great.
Oh my gosh.
Limerence, honeymoons, etc. And then you got to get to the grind. And I always say, when your time comes and you'd like to leave, or if we have to get to a stage where I need to ask you to leave, I'll make you this deal and I'll make me the same. Don't hurt me or my family. I won't hurt you or your family. I'll come to you. We'll sit down. We'll be adults. We'll work on a transition. I'll pay you out. I'll recommend you.
Yeah. It's not a life sentence.
It's not.
No.
And how you
Yeah.
leave it matters so much, because if there's anything I've learned, it's that it always comes back.
100%.
Like, our industry and world is so small that you always meet those people again. And from my perspective, I never want that person to be in a room when I'm not there, and for someone to say, "How was your experience with Nikki?" and for them to say, "Real bad," right?
Awful, like
Exactly.
terrible. She was
One of the best people in my company, I have fired twice and hired thrice.
I love that.
And so I always think, like, would they come back to work for you?
yes.
Like, how you leave it is how you begin it, and how you begin it's how you leave it.
It also has so much to do with any type of relationship. It has everything to do with timing. Where are you
Correct.
both at emotionally? Where are you both at in your growth journey? Like, what does that look like, dependent upon whether it'll work or not?
100%.
But Steve, you asked about time.
Yes.
And one of the lessons I've learned over time is not everybody can matter all the time, but everybody can matter over time.
Ooh,
And so
well
that's
said.
where you stop for a moment and go, hang on, I haven't talked to this person for 6 months or 6 weeks, or whatever's appropriate in your company or your business. And you go, but they really matter to me. I wouldn't be where I am today if it weren't for that relationship. And so you have to stop and lean in. But what that means is you have to be, another leader taught me the acronym COOL, a keen observer of life. And all that means, and I know it's corny and cheesy, but I think about it. What's important to them? Man, do they love Snickers? Because if they love Snickers, I'm going to make sure I've always got one and go, hey, you look like you need a Snickers today.
You're just
Like,
giving
what
candy out to people?
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm not above it. Yeah.
You guys, though, both of you, we go to a lot of events together. I always get a thank you text. You always make a point of meeting people and saying thank you. It's funny. The bigger people get, they get there because of the more respect you give.
Gratitude.
And I think that's true. And I think because of that, again, you're not really in this to be liked, but you're going to be respectful all the time, and then more people just do.
I also think that it promotes more good behavior in the world. And what I mean by that is, like,
So true.
I can tell you that Cody has had an immense impact in my life in so many ways. So have you. And so for me not to express gratitude for that opens me for an opportunity to not continue to get those types of opportunities, that type of help, whatever it is. Right? And I think you have to make that person know, or have to make them feel that what they're doing matters, right? And for them to know that they're continuing to put good things into the world, so that they'll continue to do that, right? We never know what an interaction with someone is going to mean for them in the future, or that day, or whatever it is. And so when we show gratitude for people for that, it encourages the behavior, right?
Well, you're constantly encouraging.
Yeah,
Like
she is.
You're the person that you see and you go, I'm going to find a way. I'm going to find a way to move across the room and talk to Nikki. Number one, she's fun to hang out with. Number two, as selfish as it sounds, that person knows they're going to feel better because of that.
100%.
Well, that's
And they're like,
our
she's going to
job.
make me feel better.
Right?
And that's, like, it was true at Kathy that said, you'll know when people need encouragement because they're breathing.
Yeah.
And you embody that. You're like, you're breathing. You could use some encouragement.
Because we all could, right? And the truth is, when you're building something, anything, whether
hard
it's
as hell,
something
man.
small or whether it's something big, I think that's, we started this conversation on the topic of social media, and that's my biggest qualm with it. That we're in the age of the highlight reel,
Yeah.
right? We're in the age of the highlight reel where it's, everything's fast and everything's easy and everybody's up on stage telling you that they were home by 5 every night. I'm like, no, that's
Horseshit.
not how this is. This is hard. It's really hard. And it's challenging, and sometimes you feel like you're in the dark and you're by yourself, and you have to continue to put in the hard work. You have to make a decision every day that you're going to show up for yourself, for your business, for all the people around you. I know we've both certainly had times where we're like, financially this is hard, mentally it's hard, the market's hard. It's just hard, right? And not to say there isn't the other side of it too.
Oh, no.
We have great days, of
That's great,
course.
too.
And yet I understand that the more that we can acknowledge that, the more everyone feels like maybe they're not the exception, that they're having a hard day, right? Because ultimately, when you're building something worthwhile, it's usually pretty challenging. And so if you can understand that and make peace with it, you don't feel like you're wrong or bad because you're having a hard day and everybody else around you seems like they're not.
But
Both
no one can do your push-ups for you.
True,
Like, you
have
got
to
to do your
it.
own.
Yep,
You got to do your
gotta
own.
do
And
it.
when you
Both-
played basketball, no one can make your free throws for you.
It was the most frustrating thing, and I used to make a point of it. We would lose a game by a point, and one of my buddies would miss a free throw at the end, and I would say, that's okay, but you know whose fault that is.
Yep.
And then I would make them stay after, and we would shoot free throws every day, and it's my favorite story. And one of my guys, Ben Hunt, stud, played in college, played with me in the professional league, we would shoot free throws, and I can remember it vividly. got fouled with 3 seconds left. We're playing our arch rival Ballarat. He's at the free throw. I walked up to him and I said, we've just made 150 of these in the last 4 days. There's no way you miss this. Put the ball in your fingertips and let it go. And I knew he was going to make it because we'd just been spinning. Now, first time that happened where he hadn't done that, hadn't been in play, it was like, and I looked at his face and he looked right back at me and he goes, I got it.
Yep.
You know, and if you ever watch it, like when Michael Jordan won the championship in his second to last one with Kerr, and Kerr's in a timeout and he goes, if Stockton doubles you, I'll be ready. Throw it to me. And Michael went, and Kerr goes, no. If he doubles you, I'll be ready. Looked right at him. You watch that 30 for 30. And Michael knew that they're not going to let him beat them on this last shot. So here comes Stockton. They double him. Yep. Here's Kerr. And they win 6 championships. And in most cases, he didn't take the last shot because people wouldn't let him. So you're right. Preparation. Coach Wooden had a great line. He used to say, the definition of success is knowing you're as prepared as you possibly can be for the outcome you're going to receive.
Yeah.
And that's true, right? All right. Now, I'm out there. Who should join your organizations and why should they join them? Start with you.
For me, our avatar is the agent who is probably selling 15, 10, 20 homes a year.
Right.
They're fine. They're okay.
Yeah.
What I've learned
But maybe
is,
it's getting tougher now. Maybe leads are down now.
Oh my gosh. I mean, the market's off 30, 40% in most of the country.
Not you.
So we're all feeling that.
Not you.
Yeah. Well, we had to recruit our way through it.
Yep.
So if you're a solo agent and you don't recruit agents through it, you got to recruit leads through it. You may need 2 and 3 times the amount of leads to make the same amount of money. And nobody read the business book that said, welcome to the company. Every year gets better from here. No one's read that book because no one's ever written that stupid book. It'd be good for a fire starter.
Yeah.
And you're going to have ups and downs. Like that's just reality.
Yep.
However, the person that we're real clear that our avatar, about a deal to 2 deals a month, but they'd like to go to 50 units. They'd like to go to 70 units. They'd like to go to 100, but they don't want to take 5 more years to get there.
Or pay out their own 20 grand to build the CRM, the leads. Okay.
Yep. They look down and they go, oh my gosh, there's opportunity by working together. And I could take a 5 or an 8 year leap in my career by being in business with you tomorrow. So that's our avatar. That's who, and we're real clear about that. What that also means is, and you mentioned it earlier, we've said no to a bunch of people. Like we just now started a portion of our company that focuses on teams that do 20, 30, 40 million in volume. Yeah. But for 10 years, we said no because we'd rather let them out now than let them down later. Because we knew that wasn't our avatar. We knew that we couldn't do it. That wasn't our thing.
But you've evolved and progressed now.
Oh, we're big enough now that we can do it. We can do both.
Yeah.
But in the very beginning, we used to take a year to choose a location. We'd do all kinds of research and what about beep, boop, 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 boop. Like what about this and this? And today we're like, cool, are there humans there? Because if there's humans
is
there,
anybody
we should
breathing
probably
over there?
expect-
They're awesome. That works great.
Yeah, we're now there. And
Well, because
so-
you know what we've learned? This is another thing that's stupid, right? Stop overthinking. I want only the best agents in my company. It's horseshit. It's all horseshit. You can do all the dist and vectors you want to, and that helps a little. Here's the reality. How many of you hired that you've been like, can't miss? This person's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
How many of you, they failed miserably? How many of you hired and gone, this person won't make it a week, end up being one of your best agents?
And they're crushing.
Well, I think the point there, Steve, is that we both see this in our organizations. You see it in your organization. I wake up every day and I'm crystal clear on my responsibility, which is to provide the best platform possible for agents to maximize their opportunity to grow what they want to grow. That doesn't mean do all the work for the agents to get to where they want to
100%.
go. So it's entirely up to the person whether they want to use what's available to them, right? And if they don't, I have zero control over that. And that's an evolution in my own leadership where I'm crystal clear that I will say forever, my greatest weakness as a leader, as a human, is that I aspire for people without their permission. When I see you, I don't see you as you are, I see you as you could be. And I see that in everybody that I meet, like all that you could be capable of. But the challenge is I don't get to make that decision for them. They have to decide.
I love it.
So our avatar is very similar. We exclusively and specifically support individual agents. We do not support teams. And we want to help them to grow their business alongside keeping their own brand. So typically the agent that will come to me is usually someone who's similarly doing 10 to 20 transactions, really depends on the location, who's hit the point where they basically have to make a decision if they want to build it out themselves, if they want to start hiring people, or if they want to plug into something to go much faster. And that's usually going to be our platform.
They both said, I gave you a nugget, you can't save people from themselves. So they provide the platform, the leadership, the vision, the membership. At the end of the day, the action has to be taken by the human or it doesn't work. All right.
You said something I don't want to forget because I thought it was brilliant. You won't aspire. You aspire for them without their permission. And I've always thought I won't perspire without their participation.
Yeah, I love that.
In other words, I won't sweat if they're not sweating. Like if you're not doing your push-ups, I won't do them for you. I'll get down and do them if you're doing yours.
It's so true, and you probably don't even remember this, but I still have it, and I'll never forget it. Cody was my bold coach when I was 30 seconds into the business. I'm not kidding. I think
no brand new. No refunds.
No refunds at all.
Sorry, it's just I just have to say it. No refunds. Yeah.
Clearly, you did something
just like
right.
a twitch.
Well done. Hey, you got one success story. Great job.
No refund. Yeah.
One right. Many right. He's the best. But there's an exercise where you write something on the back, and Cody has horrible handwriting, so I knew which one it was. And he said, you're more powerful than you know yet. And I never forgot it. I still have it. And I never forgot it. And for me, that's how I look at people. But what he didn't say is you're more powerful than you know. Let me spend every waking hour of my time trying to pull that out of you. Yeah. Right? It was the spark that I needed to understand he's right. I am more powerful than I know yet. And the only way for me to know is to go and experience and learn myself. It's like the number one question I get asked by young people especially is like, how do I acquire confidence? And I say, you go do the things to prove to yourself that you are capable, and therefore you will be confident in those things.
It's funny.
Right?
No confidence without action.
Yeah,
There's
you
no
can't,
way to get
I'm like, you can have some of mine, but
can't
it's not going to work,
it.
right?
You can't, you got to, all right. In closing, one thing you're maniacal about right now in this market with your people for the next 3-4 months that you know they have to do in order to retain the greatest success in the next 4 months.
I think there's two things. Number one, if you're tired and it hurts right now, you're probably doing it right. Yep. Like there's not a fast way through that. We're all rookies again because no one's sold in this kind of shift. No one's sold in this kind of a market where it's a little conflicted. What should be up is down. What should be down is up. It's a weird time.
You sent me a great plaque. 1 + 1 might
2.
Not equal 2 in this market.
Yeah. It can't. Like if you want to be rich, 1 + 1 has to be 7. 1 + 1 can't be 2. That's for losers. Now, the best 2 years of my life was the 4th grade, so 1 + 1, I got it no matter what. But maniacal for me, like when I get to speak to our people, the one reminder I'll start and end with is we're in the market where every lead matters again. Remember when you were brand new, and if they were breathing, they wanted to talk real estate, man, you showed up, you went. I think
I'll
we're
drive
there.
an hour to show you that.
I think we're there again because we don't know who's who. We don't know until we're in this market for a while how to pick and choose which ones are real and which ones aren't. So I think we're right back to, we call it no lead left behind. And so it's like, nope, if they're willing to talk, I'm in. And I haven't earned the right. Like we used to have all these scripts and dialogues of how to like vet a lead. Like, let's make sure, let's pre-qualify the appointment. Yeah. We are not pre-qualifying appointments. If they want to meet, we're in. Yeah. Like, I'm on my way. Can we meet twice?
Well, with 2 million less transactions, more than likely this year, you better be first to everything you can.
We don't know what we're saying no to right now. In a different market, we know we're saying no to maybe a waste of their time or a waste of our time. We're saying no to an appointment today. But right now, there's no lead left behind. Like you're turning over rocks and you know, for us, we're real clear that lead generation builds a sale, but lead follow-up builds a business. And so it's just follow-up, follow-up, follow-up. We all know, but we all fight the reality that the treasure we seek is in the cave that we're avoiding. So get your ass in there.
Yep.
My rise, brother. All right, what about you, Rockstar?
I send my team a text every morning that says, what action are you avoiding by making this more complicated than it actually is? Which is my way of asking them, what work are you trying to get out of? Like real estate is just... it's just so simple. In any market, it really is just so simple. You have to talk to people about real estate in order to increase the odds of you converting a transaction in real estate. It's quite simply
talking to people helps.
That simple. Like there's lots of things we could do, and in a market like this, everybody's an expert and wants to coach you on whatever.
Right. And they haven't closed a home in a month, a year.
Exactly.
But they want to,
There's tons of real estate gurus out there who will tell you to come follow their 47-step system for thriving in this market. And it's just you don't need that. It's just so simple. Do the action and continue to do it for long enough that you can actually have the time to make manifest the results that you're looking for.
One of the many things I love about you is that your youngins, these young, what I call Nickyites that just follow you over the cliff, they they talk so simply. Oh no, I just have to talk to 11 people every day, and that's what I do. I talk to 11 people every day. Like they don't
literally
even,
the job.
They don't, and I'm sitting there going like, "What else you do?" They go, "Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't do anything else." And I'm laughing
Well,
like
we
this
do
person.
the
Being,
rest,
yeah, for
but they know.
right.
They know that's their
but
job.
3 months in the gig, I talk to 11 people a day. That's what I do.
There's so much noise in the world and in real estate especially, and there's always some way that it's a fast pass to success or this new product or whatever. I mean, we've all seen so many come and go, but the crux of how you're successful in this market isn't going to change ever, probably. Maybe one day, and then hopefully we won't be in it anymore because we're not smart enough to figure it out.
Yeah.
But it's pretty simple. Talk to people about real estate. And then if you aren't closing enough transactions, talk to more.
Like we chose a human business. You got to talk to the humans.
Yeah.
The one
Like,
thing,
yeah.
Gotta be in
the
front of
one
people.
thing that I will say about this podcast, particularly with these guys, is they understand ROR. They understand the return on relationship. So thank you for being who you are. I love having you guys in our ecosystem and our network. And thanks for what you just gave to these folks, which is nugget rich. Grab 2 or 3 and then execute them the way they do. Thanks, everybody.